The red dust of Threshold 7 clung to everything. Dr. Marcus Webb wiped his visor for the third time that hour as he climbed down the rocky ravine. His scanner had picked up strange readings 2 kilometers from the research station, and protocols said he had to investigate. Marcus hated protocols, but he followed them anyway. He was a tall man with tired eyes and hands that were better suited to holding test tubes than climbing ropes. At 42, he had spent the last 3 years on this border world studying alien plant life. It was quiet work, safe work, exactly what he needed after the accident that took his wife and daughter 5 years ago. The scanner beeped louder. Marcus looked down and saw it, a Velhari escape pod wedged between 2 massive boulders. His heart jumped. The Velhari were the alien empire that controlled this sector of space. Humans had only made contact with them 3 years ago, and the relationship was tense at best. Finding one of their ships here, in the restricted zone, could mean trouble. Marcus approached carefully. The pod's door hung open, bent and broken. Inside, he could see a figure, slumped against the wall. His breath caught when he saw the armor. Royal Guard markings. The Velhari inside was female, tall and elegant, even in death. Her blue-gray skin had turned pale, and her breathing was shallow. "Help," she whispered in broken Standard, the common language humans and Velhari use to communicate. "Please, help her." Marcus looked past the dying guard and saw movement, small, trembling, a child. The little Velhari was no bigger than a human 4-year-old. She had the same blue-gray skin as the guard, but across her forehead and arms were markings that glowed faintly gold. Marcus had studied enough Velhari culture to know what those markings meant. Only royalty had them. Only the Queen's bloodline. The little star. The guard gasped, reaching out with a shaking hand toward the child. "Promise. Promise you will protect the little star." "I'll get help," Marcus said, reaching for his communicator. The guard's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "No authorities. They will take her. They will lock her away. She will never see the sun. Never know warmth, please." The guard coughed, and blue blood trickled from her mouth. "Let her live. Let her be a child." The guard died with her eyes on the little girl. The child watched silently, her large eyes filled with tears that didn't fall. She didn't make a sound. Marcus stood there, his mind racing. A royal child. This was bigger than anything he could handle alone. The smart thing would be to call it in immediately, let the authorities figure it out. That was protocol. But he looked at the child again. She was shaking, her small body pressed into the corner of the pod. She looked terrified. She looked alone. Marcus thought of his own daughter, Emma. She had been 6 when the transport crashed. He hadn't been there to protect her. He made his decision. Marcus reported the crash. He told them he found a destroyed pod with 2 bodies, a royal guard and a child, both dead. He uploaded false scanner readings to support his story. Then he bundled the small Velhari in his thermal blanket and carried her back to the station through the back routes where the cameras had convenient blind spots. Getting her into his quarters was the easy part. The research station was half empty, and Marcus had always kept to himself. Nobody visited him. Nobody checked on him. He had a 2-room apartment with basic furniture and walls covered in his dead family's photos. The hard part was what came next. She sat in the corner of his bedroom, knees pulled to her chest, and stared at nothing. Marcus tried offering her food, standard rations, synthesized proteins, even some of the exotic fruits from the station greenhouse. She wouldn't touch any of it. On the second day, Marcus tried talking to her in Velhari. His pronunciation was terrible, but he tried. "You're safe here," he said. "I won't hurt you." She didn't respond. On the third day, she started to cry, soft, broken sounds that she tried to hide. Marcus sat on the floor across from her, not too close, and just stayed there. He didn't talk. He didn't move. He just let her know she wasn't alone. On the fourth day, he sang. It was an old Earth lullaby his mother used to sing. He sang it to Emma when she couldn't sleep. The melody was simple and soft. He didn't know if the Velhari child would understand, but music was music. She stopped crying. She listened. On the fifth day, she ate just a little bit of the sweet fruit he offered. But it was something. By the end of the first week, she let him move closer. By the end of the second week, she started following him around the apartment with her eyes. By the third week, she took his hand when a loud noise from the station's machinery scared her. Marcus named her Nova because of the way her royal markings glowed in the dark. He didn't know her real name. She couldn't speak yet, or wouldn't, but she needed to be called something. Something warm, something that felt like hope. He registered her in the station system as a war orphan from an unknown colony world. In the chaos of 3 different conflicts happening across the sector, nobody looked too closely at one more displaced child. He said she was human, with a rare genetic condition that explained her appearance. The bureaucrats stamped the forms and moved on. Marcus built a routine. He worked during the day in the lab, and Nova stayed in the apartment with educational programs running on the screen. He hurried home every evening, and she would be waiting by the door. She never smiled yet, but her eyes would brighten when she saw him. At night, she had nightmares. She would wake up screaming in Velhari, words Marcus didn't understand. He would rush to her bedside and hold her hand until she calmed down. Sometimes she let him hold her, her small body shaking against his chest, while he whispered that she was safe. 4 months after he found her, Nova spoke her first word in Standard. "Ma-kus," she said, pointing at him. Marcus felt something break open in his chest, something that had been frozen since the day he lost Emma. He smiled at her, really smiled for the first time in years. "That's right, Nova. I'm Marcus." She thought about this. Then she pointed at herself. "Nova? You're Nova." She considered this seriously. Then she pointed at the photos on the wall. "Makus family?" He nodded, his throat tight. They were, a long time ago. Nova looked at him with those 2 old eyes. She reached out and patted his hand the way he did when she was upset. "Makus sad?" "Sometimes," he admitted. She leaned against him. "Nova here, Nova stay." Marcus wrapped his arms around her and let himself believe, just for a moment, that he could keep this promise, that he could protect this little star that chance had dropped into his life. He didn't know that time was already running out. 6 months changed everything. Marcus stood in the doorway of his apartment, watching Nova draw pictures on her tablet. She was sprawled on the floor, her legs kicking in the air, the way human children did when they were happy. Her royal markings glowed a soft, contented gold. She was humming one of the songs he taught her. "Dad, look!" She held up the tablet. The drawing showed 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands under a bright yellow sun. "It's us." Dad. She had started calling him that 2 months ago. He never asked her to. She just started saying it one day, as naturally as breathing. The first time, Marcus had frozen, the word hitting him like a physical blow. Nova had looked worried, like maybe she did something wrong. "Is it okay?" she had asked. "The kids in my lessons all have dads. Can you be my dad?" Marcus had nodded, unable to speak around the lump in his throat. "I can be your dad." Now it was just normal. She called him Dad, and he called her sweetheart, or Nova Bean, when she was being silly. They were a family, a strange, illegal, cross-species family, but a family nonetheless. Marcus had created a careful routine to keep Nova safe. She attended school remotely through the station's education network, connecting from the apartment. He had registered her under her false identity, and the teachers never questioned why they only saw her through a screen. Half the kids on frontier stations learned that way. For the times when video was required, Marcus had acquired a holographic emitter. It was technically illegal, purchased through a contact who didn't ask questions. The emitter disguised Nova's appearance, making her look like a pale human child. It wasn't perfect, but it worked well enough for school calls. Nova was smart. She learned to read in 3 languages, Standard, Valhari, and even some Earth English that Marcus taught her from old books. She devoured stories the way other kids devoured candy. Her favorites were the old fairy tales, the ones where the lost children found their way home. "Why does the princess always need saving?" Nova asked one evening while Marcus cooked dinner. She was sitting on the counter swinging her legs and sneaking pieces of vegetables before they went in the pot. "That's just how old stories go," Marcus said, "though I guess some princesses save themselves these days." Nova thought about this. "If I was a princess, I would save other people, and I would have a dad who taught me how to be brave." Marcus ruffled her hair. "You are brave. You're the bravest kid I know." "You have to say that. You're my dad." But she was grinning, her markings flickering with happiness. At night, Marcus researched Velhari culture in secret. What he learned made him angry in ways he didn't know he could feel anymore. Velhari royal children were not raised by parents. They were taken at birth and given to the state. They were raised by instructors and tutors, taught to see emotion as weakness and attachment as a liability. They were given designation numbers, not names. They were trained from infancy to serve the empire without question. They were never held when they cried, never comforted when they were scared. They were taught that love was a human weakness. Marcus looked at Nova sleeping in her bed, clutching the stuffed bear he bought her from the station market. She talked in her sleep sometimes, mumbling about her day or the stories he read her. She was a child, bright and curious and full of life. The thought of her in one of those cold Velhari training facilities made him sick. He started making plans to leave. There were frontier worlds at the edge of map space where people didn't ask too many questions. Places where a man and his daughter could disappear and start over. He began saving money, making quiet inquiries about transport, forging the documents they would need. Just 6 more months, he told himself. Then they would run. But close calls kept happening. One evening, Nova got excited during a remote school event, a virtual celebration where students showed off projects. She had made a model of the solar system, and when the teacher praised her work, Nova's markings flared bright gold across her face and arms. The biological luminescence was a Velhari trait, one that the hologram couldn't completely hide. Several kids gasped. "What was that?" someone asked. "Why is she glowing?" Marcus, watching from across the room, jumped in immediately. "Sorry everyone, technical glitch with Nova's display. We'll fix it." He cut the feed before anyone could ask more questions. Nova looked at him with wide, scared eyes. "Did I mess up?" "No, sweetheart, you didn't mess up." He knelt beside her. "But remember what we talked about keeping your markings calm during school time." She nodded seriously. "I forgot. I was too happy." Marcus hugged her. "I know. It's okay. We'll be more careful." But he knew it wasn't okay. Every day Nova stayed on the station was a risk. Every connection, every interaction, every moment where she might be seen or scanned or discovered. Dr. Ewan, one of Marcus's colleagues, had started asking questions. "I didn't know you had a daughter, Marcus. Where's she from?" "Colony World. Her parents died in the conflict. I'm her guardian now." "That's kind of you." Ewan smiled, but there was curiosity in her eyes. "Maybe she'd like to meet my son sometime. He's about her age." Not ready for that yet. The questions kept coming, polite but persistent. Marcus knew he was running out of time. One night, after Nova was asleep, Marcus sat at his desk and finished the final documents. New identities, transport tickets to a mining colony 3 sectors away, enough money to start over. They would leave in 2 weeks. He looked at the photos on his wall. His wife, his daughter Emma. He had lost them, and he couldn't save them. But he could save Nova. He would save Nova. "Dad?" Nova's voice came from the bedroom doorway. She was holding her stuffed bear, rubbing her eyes. "I had a bad dream." Marcus opened his arms, and she climbed into his lap, curling up against his chest the way she always did after nightmares. "The crash?" he asked softly. She nodded against his shirt. "The guard was calling for help, but nobody came. Nobody except you." "I'm here now," Marcus said, holding her close. "I'll always be here." "Promise?" "Promise." It was a promise he meant with everything in him. He would protect her. He would keep her safe. He would give her the childhood that her own people would have stolen from her. He didn't know that the promise would be tested sooner than he thought. He didn't know that Velhari ships were already scanning the sector, searching for unusual energy signatures. He didn't know that Senior Arbiter Kelth was already reviewing reports, following a trail that led directly to Threshold 7. He didn't know that in just 3 days, everything would fall apart. For now, he held his daughter and sang her the lullaby that always chased the nightmares away. For now, they were safe. For now, they were together. For now, that was enough. The Velhari ship arrived on a Tuesday morning. Marcus was making breakfast when the station-wide announcement echoed through the corridors. "All personnel, this is Commander Hayes. We have Velhari diplomatic vessels requesting permission to dock. This is a routine inspection. Remain calm and continue normal operations." Marcus's hands froze on the pan. Nova looked up from her drawing, sensing his fear. "Dad, what's wrong?" He forced his voice to stay steady. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just some visitors to the station. You need to stay inside today, okay? No going near the windows." She nodded, but her markings had dimmed to a worried gray-blue. The Velhari delegation arrived with full ceremony. Marcus watched through the security feeds in his lab. 12 guards in gleaming armor. 3 diplomats in flowing robes. And at the center, a tall female Velhari with markings that indicated high rank. Senior Arbiter Kelth. Marcus had read about her in his research. She was the Velhari Empire's chief investigator, known for her ruthless efficiency and complete lack of mercy. If Kelth was here, this wasn't routine. Over the next 2 days, Kelth interviewed station personnel. She claimed they were investigating unusual energy signatures detected in the sector. Security protocols. Nothing to worry about. But Marcus knew better. He watched her pattern of questioning. She was hunting for something. Someone. He moved up their escape timeline. They would leave tomorrow night, station time. He had already bribed a cargo ship captain to take them. No questions asked. Just one more day. On the 3rd day, Dr. Ewan called him. "Marcus, can you help me with the centrifuge analysis? I'm getting strange readings." "Sure, give me 10 minutes." He set up Nova with her lessons and lunch. "I'll be back soon, okay? Remember the rules. No answering the door, no turning on the outside camera, no using the hologram." Nova recited the rules perfectly. She had been practicing. Good girl. He kissed her forehead and left. The call with Ewan took longer than expected. Technical issues with the equipment. By the time Marcus finished, almost an hour had passed. He was walking back to his quarters when his communicator buzzed. It was Ewan. "Marcus, I tried calling you back. When your video connected earlier, I saw, is there a child in your quarters?" His blood went cold. "What?" "Just for a second in the background. I saw a little girl, blue-gray skin. I didn't know you had a Velhari child with you." "The new regulations require." Marcus cut the connection and ran. He burst into his quarters. Nova was sitting on the couch, looking guilty. "I'm sorry, Dad. I heard your communicator beeping, and thought it might be important. I just wanted to help." Before he could respond, the door chimed. Marcus's heart hammered. He pulled Nova close. "Dr. Webb, this is Commander Hayes. Please open the door." Marcus didn't move. "Dr. Webb, I have Arbiter Kelth with me. Dr. Ewan reported an unregistered alien child in your quarters. This is a security matter. Open the door or we will override the lock." Nova's eyes were wide with fear. "Dad?" "It's okay," Marcus lied. "Everything's going to be okay." The door opened. Commander Hayes came in first, followed by 2 station security guards. Behind them, tall and imposing, was Arbiter Kelth. The Arbiter's eyes locked onto Nova immediately. Her expression didn't change, but her markings flared bright white, the Velhari sign of extreme shock. "Scan the child," Kelth ordered in her own language. One of her guards stepped forward with a device. It beeped once, twice, then it let out a steady, high-pitched tone. The guard looked at Kelth. Biosignature confirmed. Royal bloodline. 99.7% match to Queen Ishara's genetic profile. The room went silent. Kelth approached slowly. She stared at Nova like she was looking at a ghost. "The lost daughter, the little star, you have been alive all this time." Nova pressed against Marcus, trembling. "Step away from the child, Dr. Webb," Commander Hayes said. "No." Marcus wrapped his arms around Nova. "She's my daughter. I'm her legal guardian." Kelth's laugh was cold. "Guardian? You are a kidnapper. This child is the youngest daughter of the Velhari Queen. She is royal property of the Empire. She belongs to us." "She belongs to herself," Marcus shot back. "She's a child, not property." "Dad, I'm scared." Nova's voice was small. "I know, sweetheart, I know." Kelth nodded to her guards. "Take the child. Sedate her if necessary. Restrain the human." What happened next happened fast. The Velhari guards moved in. Marcus tried to hold on to Nova, but station security pulled him back. He fought them, shouting, struggling. A guard pressed something against his neck, and electricity shot through his body, making his muscles lock up. Through blurred vision, he saw Velhari hands reaching for Nova. She screamed, "Dad! Dad! Don't let them take me! Dad!" One of the guards injected her with something. Nova's screams faded to whimpers, then silence as the sedative took hold. Her small body went limp. "Nova!" Marcus tried to surge forward, but the electricity hit him again. He fell to his knees. The last thing he saw before they dragged him away was Nova's unconscious form being carried out by the Velhari guards, her arm hanging limply, her markings flickering and dying like failing stars. They took Marcus to the station detention center. Commander Hayes looked uncomfortable. "Marcus, what were you thinking? That's a Velhari royal child. This is an interstellar incident." "I was protecting her," Marcus said, his voice raw. "From them. From what they do to their children." "That's not your decision to make. Someone had to make it." 2 hours later, Arbiter Kelth arrived at his cell. "Dr. Marcus Webb," she said formally, "you are charged under Velhari imperial law with kidnapping a member of the royal family, falsifying official records, and contaminating a royal heir with foreign ideology. The penalty for these crimes is death." Marcus looked at her. "Where's Nova?" "The child has been sedated and is being prepared for transport to the Velhari homeworld. There, she will undergo re-education to remove the damage you have caused." "Damage?" Marcus stood up, gripping the bars of his cell. "I gave her a childhood. I gave her love. I gave her everything your people would have taken away. You gave her weakness." Kelth's markings flashed angry red. "You taught her to feel when she should think, to want when she should serve. You have ruined a perfectly designed future leader with your primitive human sentimentality. She's 7 years old. She is royal property." Marcus slammed his hands against the bars. "She's a little girl who has nightmares, who likes to draw pictures and hear stories, who laughs when I tickle her, and cries when she's scared. She's a person, not a thing. Kelth was unmoved. The human government has agreed to extradite you to Velhari custody. You will stand trial before the Imperial Court. The Queen herself wishes to see the human who stole her daughter. Good, Marcus said, his voice hard. I have some things I want to say to her, too. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will show proper respect, and when you are found guilty, you will die. That is the law. Kelth turned to leave. Does Nova know? Marcus called after her. Does she know what's happening? Is she awake? Is she calling for me? Kelth paused at the door. The child is sedated. It is better this way. By the time she wakes, she will be home, and in time, she will forget you ever existed. She won't forget, Marcus said quietly. You can't make her forget love. Kelth left without responding. Marcus sat down in his cell and put his head in his hands. Somewhere on a Velhari ship, Nova was sleeping, trapped in sedation, unaware that she was being taken away from the only person who ever loved her. He had failed her. He had promised to protect her, and he failed. But he wasn't done fighting. Not yet. If he was going to die in a Velhari court, he would make sure every word counted. He would make them hear the truth, even if it was the last thing he ever did. The Velhari Imperial Court was the most beautiful place Marcus had ever seen, and he hated every inch of it. The chamber was enormous, carved entirely from crystal, that caught and reflected light in 1,000 different colors. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet overhead, covered in bioluminescent panels that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Thousands of Velhari filled the tiered seats, their formal robes rustling like wind through leaves. Marcus stood in the center, alone on a raised platform. His hands were bound in front of him with energy cuffs that hummed against his wrists. He had bruises on his face from the guards who had been less than gentle during transport. His clothes were dirty and torn. Around him, silence. The Velhari court didn't shout or murmur like human courts. They simply watched, their faces expressionless, their markings steady and cold. Arbiter Kelth stood at the prosecution stand, her voice carrying through the vast space without effort. The accused stands before you, guilty of crimes against the Empire. The facts are not in dispute. Dr. Marcus Webb, human, found the royal child, designated as Heir 7, during a search mission 7 months ago. Instead of reporting this discovery, he falsified death records. He hid the child. He raised her in secret, filling her mind with human concepts of family and attachment. Kelth activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air, Nova's drawings, showing her and Marcus together. Screenshots from her school programs, medical scans showing her biosignature. The child has been contaminated, Kelth continued. She has formed an inappropriate emotional bond with this human. She calls him father. She displays attachment behaviors that are unseemly for one of royal blood. She has been taught weakness when she should have been taught strength. She has been given a name, Nova, when she should have been known only by her proper designation. The crowd's markings flickered with what Marcus had learned was disapproval. Under Velhari law, the penalty for kidnapping a royal heir is death. The penalty for corrupting a royal bloodline is death. The prosecution demands execution. Kelth sat down. The silence returned. A judge, an ancient Velhari male, with markings so faded they were almost white, looked down at Marcus. The accused may speak, though no defense will change the facts of this case. Do you deny your actions? Marcus took a breath. His hands were shaking, but his voice came out steady. I don't deny anything. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I found Nova, your Heir 7, in a crashed pod with a dying guard. The guard begged me to protect her. She said if I turned the child over to authorities, she would never see the sun, never know warmth. she would be locked away. The guard violated her oath, Kelth interrupted coldly. She was corrupted by— Let him speak, the judge said. Marcus continued. I took Nova because she was a terrified child who had just watched someone die. She was 4 years old. She was shaking. She couldn't speak. She had nightmares every night. He looked around at the thousands of watching Velhari. I gave her food when she was hungry. I held her when she cried. I taught her to read. I sang to her when she had nightmares about the crash. I did what any parent would do for their child. She is not your child, Kelth said. She is now. For 7 months, I was the one who woke up when she was scared. I was the one who made her laugh. I was the one who taught her that the world could be safe and warm. You call that contamination. I call it love. Love is weakness, Kelth stated. Is it? Marcus gestured at the crowd. Everyone in this room was a child once. Did none of you ever need comfort? Did none of you ever need to know you mattered? The silence was absolute. Your protocols say royal children must be raised without attachment, without names, without individual identity. You take babies from their parents and raise them as symbols instead of people. Marcus's voice grew stronger. I've read your history. Do you know what I found? Your greatest leaders, your most beloved rulers, they all came from before these protocols existed, before you decided that love was weakness. Enough, the judge said quietly. No, Marcus wouldn't stop. You want to execute me for giving a child a childhood, for letting her draw pictures and tell jokes and feel safe. You want to kill me for teaching her that she matters as a person, not just as an air number. He pulled out a small data chip from his pocket. The guards had missed it during their search. He held it up. This contains every drawing Nova made, every story she told, every recording of her laughing and learning and growing. If you're going to erase her, you should at least see who she became. A guard moved to take the chip, but the judge raised a hand. Show it. The hologram activated. The courtroom filled with Nova's voice. Dad, look. I made a rainbow. Tell me the story again. The one about the lost princess who found her way home. When I grow up, I want to help people like you do, Dad. Marcus watched the Velhari faces. Most remained expressionless, but here and there he saw markings flicker, tiny cracks in the perfect control. The recordings ended. The silence returned, heavier than before. This proves nothing except the extent of the contamination, Kelth said, but her voice had less certainty than before. It proves she's a child, Marcus said. Not a designation, not property, a living, feeling person who deserves better than what you're offering. The massive doors at the back of the courtroom opened. Every Velhari in the room stood immediately, their markings flaring bright white. The judge bowed his head. Even Kelth dropped to one knee. Queen Ishara entered. She was taller than any Velhari Marcus had seen, her royal markings covering her entire body in intricate patterns that glowed brilliant gold. Her robes flowed behind her like water. Her face was beautiful and terrible, ancient and ageless. The queen walked down the center aisle with measured steps. Everyone remained standing, heads bowed, until she reached her throne, a massive crystal seat that seemed to grow from the floor itself. She sat, the others sat. She looked at Marcus, and her eyes were the same shape and color as Nova's. So, Queen Ishara said, her voice carrying effortlessly through the vast space, you are the human who stole my daughter. Marcus met her gaze. I'm the human who saved her. The queen's markings flashed dangerously bright. You presume to judge our ways? I presume to judge cruelty when I see it. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. No one spoke to the queen like that, ever. Bring in the child, the queen commanded. 2 guards entered, supporting Nova between them. She was awake now, but her eyes were glassy from sedation. She looked small and lost in the formal Velhari robes they had dressed her in. Her markings were dim, almost colorless. Nova looked around the enormous room with confusion and fear. Then she saw him. Her eyes focused. Recognition sparked. And the courtroom was about to change forever. For a moment, Nova just stared. Her sedated mind was trying to process what she was seeing. Marcus, bruised and bound, standing in the center of a massive courtroom. Thousands of Velhari watching, the guards holding her arms. Then understanding crashed over her face. "Dad?" Her voice was small, confused. "Dad, what's happening?" The guards tried to guide her toward the throne, but Nova pulled back. "Dad," her voice grew stronger, panicked. "Dad, where are we? Why are you hurt?" Marcus tried to step toward her, but his own guards blocked him. "Nova, it's okay. I'm here." "Stay calm, child," one of the guards holding Nova said in Velhari. "You are in the presence of the Queen. Show respect." Nova looked at the tall figure on the throne. Recognition flickered in her eyes. She had seen pictures in the educational materials Marcus showed her. She knew who the Queen was. "You're my birth mother," Nova said, her voice shaking. Queen Ishara nodded once, her expression unreadable. "I am." Nova looked from the Queen to Marcus and back again. "Why is my dad in chains? What did you do to him?" "This human is not your father," Arbiter Kelth said firmly. "He is a criminal who kidnapped you. The Queen is here to bring you home." "Home?" Nova's markings flared suddenly, bright and chaotic. "I am home. I'm wherever my dad is." The courtroom stirred. Markings flickered across thousands of faces. "Child, you do not understand," the Queen began. But Nova wasn't listening. The last of the sedation was burning off, replaced by fear and anger and desperation. She yanked free from the guard's grip and ran. She didn't run toward the throne. She didn't run toward the Queen. She ran across the courtroom floor, her small feet slapping against crystal, her formal robes tangling around her legs. She ran to Marcus. The guards moved to stop her, but Queen Ishara raised one hand. They froze. Nova crashed into Marcus's legs, wrapping her arms around him as tightly as she could. Her whole body was shaking. "Dad, Dad, Dad!" she said it over and over, sobbing against his bound hands. Marcus knelt awkwardly, his cuffed wrists making it hard to hold her properly, but he managed to get his arms around her. "I'm here, sweetheart," he whispered. "I'm right here." "They took me away. They wouldn't let me see you. I called and called, but you didn't come." Nova was crying so hard she could barely speak. "I thought you left me. I thought you didn't want me anymore." "Never," Marcus said fiercely. "I would never leave you. They took you from me, Nova. I tried to stop them." The entire court watched in absolute silence. This had never happened before. Royal children did not cry. Royal children did not cling. Royal children certainly did not choose anyone over the Queen. Queen Ishara stood slowly. She descended from her throne and walked toward them. Her markings were changing colors rapidly. Something Marcus had learned meant intense emotion. She stopped a few feet away, looking down at her daughter. "Child," she said softly, "do you know who I am?" Nova looked up, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, you're Queen Ishara, you're my birth mother." "Then you understand that you belong with me, with your people." Nova's grip on Marcus tightened. "I belong with my dad. This human cannot give you what we can. He cannot give you power, status, a place in history. He gave me something better." Nova's voice was small but steady. "He gave me love." The Queen's markings flashed white. "Love is not—" "Don't say it's weakness," Nova interrupted, her voice rising. She had heard that phrase too many times in the last few days. "Love isn't weak. Love is what made my dad hold me when I had nightmares. Love is what made him sing to me even when he was sad about his own family. Love is what made him protect me when he could have just turned me in and been safe." She turned to face the crowd, this tiny child, standing up in front of thousands. My dad isn't Velhari, but he's the best father anyone could have. He taught me to read. He taught me to think. He taught me that I matter. Not because I'm heir 7, not because I have royal blood, but because I'm me. Because I'm Nova. Marcus's throat was so tight he could barely breathe. Pride and heartbreak warred in his chest. Queen Ashara was silent for a long moment. Her markings cycled through colors Marcus couldn't identify. Finally, she knelt. Something that made every Velhari in the room gasp. She knelt until she was eye level with Nova. Child, daughter, I have birthed 5 royal heirs. All serve the Empire flawlessly. All lead with strength and wisdom. The Queen's voice was quiet, meant only for them. All are strangers to me. She reached out slowly and touched Nova's face. Nova flinched but didn't pull away. I have never held any of my children, the Queen continued. I have never heard them laugh. I have never known their fears or their dreams. I know their designation numbers, but I do not know them. Our laws forbid it. Our protocols demand it. She looked at Marcus then, really looked at him. This one knows joy, she said. This one knows what it means to have a father who would die for her. This one has something I never gave any of my children. She has a choice. Queen Ashara stood, her decision made. She turned to face the court. I have reviewed the evidence. I have heard the testimony. And I have seen with my own eyes what this human has done. Her voice rang through the chamber. He did not kidnap this child. He saved her. He gave her what our laws would have taken away. A childhood. A name. A family. Arbiter Kelf stood. Your Majesty, the law clearly states. The law, the Queen interrupted, was written in a different time. Perhaps it is time we asked ourselves if our oldest laws are still our wisest laws. She looked down at Nova and Marcus again. Dr. Marcus Webb, I will not execute you. Instead, I will ask something far more difficult. Will you continue to raise this child? Will you teach her to be both loved and strong? Will you help her understand her Velhari heritage while never letting her forget the human kindness that saved her? Marcus looked at Nova, who was staring up at him with desperate hope. Yes, he said without hesitation. If Nova wants that, then yes. Always yes. Nova, the Queen used the name for the first time. Do you wish to stay with this human? He's my dad, Nova said simply. I want to stay with my dad. The Queen nodded. She turned to her court. Let it be known, a new precedent is set this day. The one known as Nova, youngest daughter of my blood, will be raised by Dr. Marcus Webb until she reaches the age of choosing. She will learn both human and Velhari ways. She will be the first royal heir raised with love, and when she is grown, she will choose her own path. The courtroom erupted. Some markings flared with approval, others flashed with anger. Arguments broke out in hushed Velhari. The Queen raised her hand, and silence fell. Guards, release the human. The energy cuffs dissolved. Marcus immediately pulled Nova into a proper hug, holding her like he would never let go. Dad, she whispered, are we really going home? Yeah, sweetheart. Marcus was crying openly now. We're going home. Queen Ashara watched them. Something in her ancient eyes looked almost wistful. Perhaps, she said quietly, love is not weakness after all. Perhaps we have been wrong for a very long time. She turned and walked back to her throne, leaving father and daughter holding each other in the center of the court that had gone silent. Years later, Nova would stand in that same courtroom as an adult, an ambassador who bridged 2 worlds. She would bring warmth to Velhari coldness and wisdom to human impetuousness. She would change laws and open hearts. But that day, she was just a 7-year-old girl who had found her way back to her dad. And sometimes, That was the most important thing in any galaxy.